topic like cybersecurity, it's really heartening. It shows that India has got a very bright future. And I have a fantastic session today with four of my colleagues. Dr. Kashmir Raja, he is my co-convener, and I have three doyens of cybersecurity who have seen that grow for the last about close to about 16, 17 years. What I plan to do is, all of us would take about 20 minutes. There are four speakers. Dr. Sridhar is also there. And we will have about 10 minutes time for questioning. And the way by which I will set out the talk is, I will create an overview of what has happened for the last about 16 years to be precise, 17 years to be precise, and give you that what we call as a cashless economy today was not suddenly brought out. It was actually well planned by the country, but the landscape of security had been changing quite a bit. So even today, if you would have seen the newspapers, it's about the cashless economy and the conflicts that happen and the fear that people have a security problem. My topic is making cyberspace secure, and particularly for the cashless economy. And the caveat, this is a combination of several presentations which I received from quite a large number of people. I did a polling, and so any omission is unintentional, and it's just to give you an overview of what's happening. It's also to make sure that you get interested in this important area. So if you look at the 5 pillars of security, we have all been taught in the classes that protection, detection, reaction, documentation, prevention have been the 5 pillars of security. Now they later on added an active security. In other words, when you're hacking, in the olden days, I will realize that you have hacked and I will react slowly. Right now, even before you start hacking me, I will attack you back. So it is the active security. Because of this, the new areas that came up, large data, data analytics, mining, machine learning, privacy. These are the social media, call data recorder analysis and national security. All of them have become new areas which are born out because of the actually kind of requirements that we brought out. So if you look at a small government, the most important things that you talk about are the information security policy, and this is the security awareness, identity and access management, and quite a large number of these things are the important areas that became. I think India as a government has also been following all of them in that sequence for the last about 20 years now. And if you look at it in the late 90s and the 2000s, the first important thing was to accept a digital document as an evidence in a court or in a contract and so on. Before that, you needed to put your signature. They actually added digital signature. Predominant concern was that someone defaced your website and wrote something nonsense and so on and so forth, and nobody bothers about it now. It's treated as a nuisance. Cybercrime started coming in about, say, 2005, 2006 onwards, and before that, the word cybercrime did not exist. Showcasing the trustworthiness, because people started saying that I'm giving lots of data to the ITS industry of India, and they are not secure in their hands. So the country's security, like United States health records, were there with many of the companies in India, or the IRS records and so on. So they said that's not safe. So the country had been trying its best to make sure that we have to showcase the trustworthiness of the Indian IT industry. Otherwise, our economy would have gone for a toss. Then slowly you started saying that, okay, don't kill the enemy by hacking into his website, bleed him to death. The botnets, the information leakages, and industrial espionage became the important issues. Digital delivery of services and e-governance became very important in this country. So the security became very important. People started worrying about critical information infrastructure, which has come under the IT before, under the network and so on, which was not there about 10 years back or 6 years back. So protecting them, it became a thing. Now today, security is a business opportunity because lots of business, it's estimated that about $80 billion is going to exist in security business. With the cashless economy, securing the financial transactions has also become important. So you look at the way by which the entire landscape of security changed. The country has been doing all of this very carefully and doing that. As part of this, it started with policy. And then promotion of security awareness, education and awareness, monitoring and situational awareness. Organizations like CERTIN was created, And R&D and Make in India became an important issue. More than about 65 projects have been granted in this area. Security products and services, the government, CDAC is one of the leading agencies in the whole thing. And there are many startups which have come up. Risk management and analytics, particularly the banking sector, which has become extremely good. As a manager, as a director of 3 of the banks, having served as director in 3 banks, I know about the kind of risk management that they do. Contingency plans, the disaster recovery sectorially, it's been developed, the financial sector, for the atomic energy, for DRDO, and for the police and others, predominantly driven by the government. So far, you find very little scope or very little participation by the private agencies, except that they reap the benefits of this. And if you look at it, all these agencies have been important. For example, Indian information security scenario, almost everybody, in the whole thing, we've been involved in this. Judiciary was the first one to come online because of the forensic work that's been done by CDAC Trivandrum. And academia came in education and awareness, and quite a large number of more than about 90 universities which are part and parcel of the security education and awareness program. I'll come and touch each one of them slowly. And then you will see security it's like 5 blind men describing the elephant. So if you look at it for the corporates and governance, it's network security. One of the world's experts, Professor Raghavan, is going to talk to you about many of these things. And it's information security and critical infrastructure protection are the 3 things as far as the corporates understand. For intelligence agencies, it's not security that you talk about in terms of network and so on. Is there a covert group which is getting formed within this? Is there an underground elements which are actually trying to work against the Indian democracy, tracking movements of people, vehicles using call data records and so on? Actually, can I track crowds in unwanted places? For the common man, is my money in the bank safe? Am I being snooped upon? And in fact, is my sister or wife traveling in Delhi? Is she safe? That's the kind of concerns that we have. That's the Nirbhaya projects and so on. And is my privacy being preserved? Am I being harassed very continuously by any of these things? For computer scientists, it's a fertile ground for, with never-ending opportunities for research. IoT has come, big data has come, and there was an excellent 2 talks on robotics. The core of the robotics is also the IoT and so on, machine learning and so on. Somebody used the word artificial intelligence, and that's become, is becoming back again as fashionable topic. For startup, it's a big market in services and products. There have been lots of national and international initiatives. If you look at the Indian thing, National Cyber Security Policy was announced to a point. It started with the IT Act. National Technology Research Organization was created some time back. And all of these things have come into play. It's not a one-day affair. So if you look at this thing, the key initiative, the government actually created the IT Act in 2000. And if you look at that, security assurance framework for the IT industry was the main practice. This thing, best practice ISO 27001 was done. IT Act 2000 had a big problem. I'll come back to that. Then later on, CERT was created so that people could actually report if there is a CERT website which has been hacked into. And security training and capacity building, ISCA, I'll also touch upon that quickly. Creation of the Data Security Council of India, I used to be the chairman of it quite some time. And creation of the National Internet Exchange. In fact, cyber security policy was announced in 2013. Then there was another follow-up of that, National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection, and then telecom security policy that came. And Dr. Narendranath is the DDG of security for telecom. He will be talking about the pilot lab for telecom testing of products and so on. And, the whole thing is now, India is now a laboratory for common criteria recognition agreement, which can actually issue certificates for security. IT Act 2000, when it was created, as I said, it was only for accepting digital documents as an evidence record. It had weaknesses. It was not technology neutral. It actually talked about RSA kind of implementations and so on. It was before the era of ITS and BPO boom. Cyber crimes were not defined. did not address cyber squatting. In fact, if you do IAC.com, it will go to another website which is actually completely different, or whitehouse.com. Did not address, gray about jurisdiction. For example, if you actually commit a crime, if I murder someone in Tirupati and the murder took place in Tirupati, actually Indian law knows how to do that because the damage and the place of crime is the same. So I will be punished under the laws of Tirupati or in the court near Tirupati. But if I commit a crime here and the damage takes place in Delhi Bank, the law does not know how to do that. Now it's been redefined. So because of that, what happened was, if a Pakistani hacks into Indian bank and robs the Indian bank, he was not originally punishable by Indian law because the crime was committed in Pakistan. But if I rob a Pakistani bank, I am punishable by Indian law. So it's a very peculiar thing. Now it's been redefined what is jurisdiction. Whereas as far as the US law is concerned, wherever you commit a crime, if the loss of property is to the US property, I think are punishable under US law. So electronic payment and fund transfer issues were not there. So these were comprehensively addressed in IT Act 2008 amendments, and it basically paved the way for removing the implementations of the IT Act, undesirable wordings which are there, which are all removed. Lots of issues came up. IT Act 66A was repealed subsequently. Cyber terrorism was first defined, and cyber terror was an offense made under, was made as an offense, and have also been covered the breach of privacy, security, child pornography, and other offenses. A national cyber security policy was articulated in July 2013, and it was one of the finest, well-written policies of the country, and strengthening the regulatory framework which wasn't existing, and vulnerability management, emotional development, and cyber security. And national critical information infrastructure protection guidelines were established, and because of this, the atomic energy, the telecom infrastructure, banking infrastructure, and all of them sectorially have been defined, and 40 controls have been identified. And these are the kinds of 40 controls. You don't have to worry about it. The controls are the processes by which the people who are in control of those situations would actually make sure the compliance to the security requirements are done. And promotion assurance, CERTIN was created, is a computer emergency response team. And then they created the Data Security Council of India, CC Lab by STQC, and telecom testing labs, and so on. A new initiative, in fact, it's a National Cyber Coordination Center, NCCC, at about 700 crores. Actually, you heard a speaker from Amrita University. Much of the work was also going to be centered about the research that they had done, and an excellent bit of work that's been done by Amrita University. NCCC will borrow from that and grow from that. CERTIN vision was to become the premier reference institution and also specialist center in security, communication, information technology, the Asia Pacific region. It is to enhance, it's a conglomeration of people who have actually got common stake in making sure that their network is secure. They do the cyber attacking, they attack web defacement, proxy scan, they scan that, and also social engineering problems, identity theft, and all of them they investigate. They also are the agencies who block the websites after a court order. They do a lot of analysis, fantastic analysis team which is existing there. They were all trained in Carnegie Mellon, and they do the analysis of bots and malware which come into your network. So you can actually go ahead and report to them. They will do the analysis of the website and so on. CERTIN has been one of the very good organizations that has been creating awareness and security across the country. They also participate in national and international security drills along with the Indian Institute of Science. It was born out of the Indian Institute of Science. It was transplanted to Delhi into a bigger scale. It was a pilot lab at the institute, and the effective public-private partnership they encourage, and they actually have a continuous dialogue with the information security officers of almost all sectors. This is the work process. If you have any problems, you can actually, hotlines are there, so you can call them You can come in the private sectors or the home users and you can do that. And they also have collaboration with all the vendors so that if there is a security breach which has been observed, actually they will be able to work out with them to find the patch for that same. They mandated the ISO 27001 for all the companies. They also have an empanelment of security consultants who will actually, certify your website so that website is, safe. And they also have an international collaboration through certain international collaboration. They participate, the United Nations, USA, Australia, and many other countries. They work with them. And the Data Security Council of India was created to make sure the rest of the world understands that we as an IT industry, we hold others' data very dear to us and make sure they are not leaked. And the main thing is India is the most secure country. India is the most secure country for the digital and intellectual property. This is the biggest doubts most Americans have. They also created an emergency response team for any crisis affecting IT in the Indian industry. And if you look at it, they actually worked with awareness. They create classes and so on and so forth, security and privacy policies. They do a professional certification so that they can actually certify people who could go ahead and manage other websites. And public advocacy, they are the single voice of the entire industry as far as the government policies are concerned. They do cybercrime investigation and collaboration with academia and so on. Information security education and awareness program, which I mentioned, it started in 2005. So far, we have created more than 1,24,000 people, 1,10,000 people in the first phase. Now we are going to have about 1,24,000 people at the BE and ME level, and also short-term courses of 6 months and so on. It's done through 51 institutions of implementing agencies, which are mostly the research universities, and all the ISRDCs, RCs, and they form a National Security Steering Committee. What is next in promotion? In fact, one of the things that you will find is conduct talent hunt across the colleges, junior colleges, and the role of private industries is actually very minimal in this important area. The startups are having lots of problems entering into this market because they create only a security product. The only way by which they can survive is someone acquires them. You cannot sell a security product to a bank because bank wants an end-to-end solution. National security testing standards for laboratory security certification of all equipments is under anvil. India has been producing a lot of R&D work, starting from cryptanalysis. Dr. Sridhar is going to touch about that, and complex network analysis, so that social media analysis and other things that could be done, CDR analytics. There are a lot of research work. Forensic was one of the biggest areas in which India has made a big headway. Traffic capture, traffic analysis, so that you could actually find out an onset of an attack, either physical or otherwise, through the analysis of the network traffic. So about, as I said, 65 projects were being done. These are the products which are available, but it's very difficult to sell these products in this country. These are the 64 projects that we have. So if you look at this, private funding is an important issue. R&D is mostly focused agencies. It's only done by IB and other agencies, and it's also been funded purely by the government. Many of the arms of the government do not know how to articulate what they require in terms of security. If India is secure, our ITS industry will be very secure, and the economy will go up, and we will realize the PM's dream of cashless economy. Effects of demonetization. All of you would have read, even in today's newspaper, the number of transactions that went up like hell, and Paytm registered over 7 million transactions worth about 1.2 billion in a day, and all of them, have been, PayU or MobiKwik, and all of them have been recording phenomenally large amount of transactions. But none of the companies know anything about security. They just started. They have not been certified. Even today, the HDFC Bank and the SBI have been having problems because actually they are still doubting whether these things have been secure or not. They just jumped into the bandwagon, and we do not even know that the entire infrastructure would be able to handle this. When we are actually, embracing a cashless economy, payment technology is in adoption faster than the awareness of the risks. So we are ready to deploy, but we don't know. The hackers can attack. Certain has put out a large amount of this thing. FireEye has put out a report. There are a large number of attacks that we are going to see in the next few years. Particularly, the median time between the compromise and the discovery of an attack was 520 days. Between the time you have attacked and the time you realized, it's 520 days. By then, I'm dead and gone. In Asia Pacific, compared to 146 days locally, globally. So I think we will have to, do the forensics and hind analysis very fast compared to what we are doing today. So certain said actually, somebody could actually hack into your, put a malware into your phone, and then actually may be able to take victims' credit card numbers and so on. Already, you know that many of the banks have actually blocked, because there, the payment gateway was attacked and they stole all the numbers and so on and so forth. SBI blocked 600,000 debit cards. So imagine that if all your debit cards are blocked and you don't have cash in your hand, what will happen to this economy? So we will have to be careful on these things. And if you look at the digital proliferation, the cyber-physical system are going to make this even more complex. R&D leading the way is a must for cyber security. RBI is one of the finest regulators in the country, which has been able to do many things. Every bank addresses the complex threat landscape to the regulator's requirement and vision. They have actually articulated very well cyber security framework for banks. The bank has an ISMS policy, it's got an IT policy. They actually now introduced a cyber security policy. It's a board level item. There is a baseline security requirements which have been defined and they have to be continuously updated. Creation of CSOC, cyber, for continuous monitoring, and cyber security operations center. It's continuously monitoring it, employing consultant security experts so that you can do the recovery quickly. It's a very good point. And there are lots of changes that they've done from ISMS to RBI domain. And my feeling is that they have done extremely well in this. As I said, the landscape of security has changed from what we started in 2000 only as a web defacement to a sovereignty data visualization conflict with data security. Several actions have been taken recently, and cyber security coordinator has been announced, and he's actually was supposed to come for this meeting. And if you look at this, Cyber Security Authority of India is a must to be created as soon as possible. And other thing is to articulate what will be the level of security that's needed for this country. If you look at it, we must articulate the nation's policies in cyberspace. We must be able to protect every network, primarily from people who can attack the network from known vulnerabilities and those with sophisticated attacks. National level attacks, probably that we can leave it to DRDO and other organizations. And for this situational awareness, all of these things, next generation technologies, capacity and capability building have to be built. And if you do all of this, I think government has got all plans in place. It's going on quite well. And if you see it, I think India is well on its way to be the global hub of security. Cashless economy has thrown up challenges. If exploited, it will lead to a transparent, secure India, but it also got several technological challenges. And business opportunities, $35 billion. It's quite significant amount, more than 30% of India's IT earnings. New organizations to be set up. We need more and more, importantly, private funding and ambience by which they can actually do that. And once we do that, more and more startups come. It will be a great economy, and it will be a more secure, transparent, cashless economy. It's a pleasure talking to all of you. Thank you very much.